The snow bunny crisis is nothing but manipulation. The snow bunny crisis is nothing but manipulation. This white woman is going to manipulate this multi-million-dollar athlete into thinking she cares about him. These white women are manipulating these multi-million-dollar athletes into believing they actually care about them just to get the paycheck. Manipulation. An African is someone who is biologically and psychologically African. An Africoid is someone who is biologically African, but they're not psychologically African, aka the and the Negropeans. Candace Owens is Africoid. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is Africoid. Barack and Michelle Obama, they are Africoid. Kamala Harris is Africoid. You are of African, but you are not African. To be African, you must be biologically and psychologically in support of, in defense of, in identification with African people. ABCs of white supremacy. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for the ABCs? Letter A, arrogant. White supremacy is arrogant. They believe that they are better than everyone else, so they have to respect no one. These are the ABCs of white supremacy. They believe they're better than everyone else, so they don't have to respect anyone. The A, the first letter of the white supremacy alphabet is A, and that stands for arrogant. Racism is arrogant. It does not respect the culture or the life of non-Caucasian peoples. White supremacy is arrogant. Letter B, white supremacy is brutal. It's brutal. They will create diseases to get rid of you. They will drop bombs on you. They will starve you. They will murder you in the hospital. I remember Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer, rest in paradise. I remember Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Rest in paradise to Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer. Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer said in Sunflower County, Mississippi. Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer said in Sunflower County, Mississippi, black women who went into the hospital to have a baby, 90% of them were sterilized without their knowledge. Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer said in Sunflower County, Mississippi, 90% of black women were sterilized without their knowledge or permission. White supremacy is brutal. Letter C, white supremacy is calculating. Oh my goodness, they are calculating. They study everything. White supremacy is very calculating. They study everything. They will study hip hop and figure out how to use it to feed mass incarceration. They will study the black male-female relationship crisis and use YouTube to exploit the black male-female relationship crisis. They will study how to use the rainbow gang against the black community. White supremacy is calculating. They are very strategic, very evaluative, very thoughtful, great analytical skills. White supremacy is calculating. They calculate everything. They measure 100 times to cut your black head off once. They will measure 100 times before they cut your black head off once. They will measure how to destroy black people 100 times until they get it right, and then they'll destroy us all in one blow. Crack cocaine, AIDS, gentrification, miseducation, special education, psychiatric medication. White supremacy is calculating. The letter D in the white supremacy alphabet, domination and dishonesty. Domination. White people do not believe in equality. I don't know why you got black folks still out here talking about our country. There's no such thing as our country when you're dealing with white supremacy. There's no such thing as our country when you're dealing with white supremacy. The letter D is for domination. They dominate. They tell you what to do. White supremacy, dominate. They make up the rules. They decide how it's going to be done. They don't believe in no damn democracy. They believe in domination. They don't believe in democracy. They believe in domination. They don't believe in democracy. They believe in domination, not democracy, but domination, brothers and sisters. Domination, brothers and sisters. They believe in domination. So when you hear black people say our country, America is our country, how can it be your country and you have no say-so over policy? How can America be the black man, black woman's country when you have no say-so over policy? Our country. That means that is the collective possessive. When you say our, you are expressing the collective possessive. If it is your country, why don't you give your people some land? If it's your country, why don't you give your people some of the capital? If it's your country, why can't you do nothing about the criminal justice system? If it's your country, why can't you do anything about police genocide? There is no our. This is domination. And the other D in white supremacy is dishonesty. They are dishonest. They will lie to your face. They will tell you special education is going to save your child when they know it's going to destroy your child. They will give you medication and make you think the medication will heal you when it's only hurting you. They are extremely dishonest. Extreme and deceptive. They are very deceptive. They are the masters of illusion. Very deceptive. They are the masters of illusion. You're in love with me. That looks like a snow bunny. Amal 22. Is that a sister? Is that African vanilla? Or is that a snow bunny saying she's in love with King Kong? Amal 22. Is that an African queen? Was that African vanilla, African pina colada? Or was that a Caucasian? Letter E. Evil and exploitative. White supremacy is evil. It is the most diabolical human system ever created. White supremacy is evil. It is the most diabolical human system ever created. It's also exploitative. They exploit everything for money. Any problem you got, they're going to make some money off of it. Oh, yes. They'll make money off your disease. They'll make money off your homelessness. They'll make money off your drug addiction. They'll make money off your child's miseducation. They'll make money off of everything. White supremacy is a system of exploitation, domination, and exploitation. Nubian Queen, Sherry James pimp. Sherry James, are you a pimp, Sherry James? Sherry James, are you a pimp? Did that say Sherry James the pimp? You mean to tell me you got women out here pimping brothers? How can a woman be a pimp of a man? How can a woman make a man go pimp his body and bring his coins back to the woman? Lord have mercy. We got female pimps. The radical black feminist then gave us female pimps. The radical black feminist then gave us female pimps. You got women out here pimping men's bodies and the men are bringing the money back. I must be too old for this. I must be too old for this. We got female pimps. Letter F, factitious. Letter F, white supremacy is factitious. What do I mean by that? They make up shit to manipulate your consciousness. Letter F, white supremacy is factitious. They make up shit to manipulate your consciousness. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. White supremacy will make up some shit to manipulate your consciousness. They make up shit. They write books, newspaper articles, magazines full of dishonest propaganda. Do you know that the FBI and CIA publishes over 200 different magazines and books every year? Did y'all know that? I'm sorry, Sherry James, you're not a pimp, baby. That's PMP. That's pretty princess. Pretty mother effing princess. Sherry PMP. Pretty mother effing pretty mother effing princess. White supremacy is factitious. Did y'all know the FBI publishes books on black power? Did y'all know the FBI publishes books on black power? Did y'all know that the FBI and CIA publishes books on Black Power? Yes. Did y'all know the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, David Duke, used to write books on Black Power for Black people to manipulate their consciousness? Oh, yes. And you got Negroes running around talking about some show me the proof. Somebody told me, show me the proof that ADHD is a scam. Somebody told me that. They wanted me to find proof from white people that ADHD is a scam. Somebody said, show me proof that special education is a scam. They wanted me to go find proof from the white man because they believe in what they write on paper. Y'all believe in your enemy. Think about that. How can you believe in your oppressor? How can you believe in your oppressor? This is the person who has had his foot on your neck for the last 500 years, and you believe in him enough that you will argue with another black person and say, go bring me some proof from my master. Go bring me some proof from my master. When I wrote my first book, right? There's no referencing. There's very few references in my first book because it's based on my own direct experience and professional work with black children. People say we don't see no references in here. You are not citing any white people that you got this information from, because the information didn't come from any white people. It came from me. I am a scholar practitioner. I am a school psychologist. Why do I have to quote white people? Why am I not sufficient enough to teach my people the truth? Peace and Pan-Africanism. I want to pick up where I left off on the ABCs of white supremacy. I want to pick up where I left off yesterday on the ABCs of white supremacy. I want to pick up where I left off yesterday on the ABCs of white supremacy. I think I stopped around F, factitious, that racism invents lies, ideas, theories, postulates, hypotheses, philosophies. They invest as heavily in deception as righteous people invest in the truth. Racism invests as heavily in deception as righteous people invest in the truth. Racism invests as heavily in deception as righteous people invest in the truth. Those of us who received a university education, at least 50% of what you were taught was all lies. See, under racism, American, French, German, Belgium, British intelligence and education is largely propaganda, because tied into everything they teach is the lie of supremacy. So whenever you have to safeguard an illusion of supremacy over and above other people, you automatically have to hide their truth. This is why black people will never be taught who they are by white people, nor should you look to be. Because in order for white supremacy to survive, the truth of African heritage must be buried. Because if you tell the truth of African heritage, you automatically dismiss the plausibility of white supremacy. Because of the factitious nature of white supremacy, letter F, we are on letter F of the ABCs of white supremacy. Because of the factitious nature of white supremacy, they must deceive, and they must deceive their victims. But not only does white supremacy deceive its victims, White supremacy must deceive its own children. They have to deceive their own children, because if they do not inculcate into their children the same narcissistic and brutal mindset that they have, white supremacy would be destroyed. So they have to make sure that their babies understand. They have to make sure that their babies are baptized in the brutality of white supremacy, because if they don't prepare the next generation, white supremacy fails. The reason white supremacy is still in charge of African people. Oh, racism is very much real. I don't know who said racism isn't real. White supremacy isn't real, but racism is very much real. I don't know where you've been living the past 500 years if you don't believe racism exists. But white supremacy has to brainwash its own children into soldiering for its existence. White supremacy has to brainwash its own children into soldiering for its existence. Let's go to letter G, global. White supremacy is global. That's why we call it global white supremacy. This is why when you hear black people speak against Pan-Africanism, which is global, any Negro who doesn't have a Pan-Africanist approach to his philosophy, I don't care what the philosophy is, if there's no global approach to your philosophy as an African person, or as a member of the group commonly referred to as African people, if you don't have a global approach to the survival of African people, your theory, your strategy for victory is going to fail, because white supremacy is completely global. There's no place on earth that is beyond the reach of white supremacy. There's no place on earth beyond the reach of Chinese supremacy, or should I say there will soon be no place on earth beyond the reach of Chinese supremacy. So if African people are going to overcome, if African people are going to succeed, if African people are ever going to resurrect our greatness, if we are ever going to rebirth the blacknificence within our DNA, we have to be global as well. As Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer said, and she was no Pan-Africanist, but one hell of an activist. As Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer said, and she was no Pan-Africanist, but one hell of an activist. As Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer said, and she was no Pan-Africanist, but she was one hell of an activist. Fannie Lou Hamer said that no black person is free until every black person is free. Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer, and I will be visiting the Mississippi Delta soon. I've never been to the Mississippi Delta, but I will be visiting the Mississippi Delta soon. Fannie Lou Hamer said, no black person is free until all black people are free. White supremacy is global. So whenever you talk to some of these intellectual masturbators on YouTube or the conscious community, the first question you should ask them, is your approach to solving the issues affecting African people, is it global? If it's not universal, this is why the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey called his organization the Universal. Universal. If your strategy is not universal, your strategy is useless. This is why a lot of the religious nationalist philosophies will never work. Because every African is not a Muslim. Every African is not a Christian. Every African is not a Hebrew. Every African is not a Moor. So if you're leading with an identity that supersedes race, it's not going to work. That's why Garvey built the largest organization, because Garvey organized us along our natural, ancestral, biological, anthropological lines. He organized us based on what we are, not what we belong to or what we claim to believe in. Any strategy that doesn't put African race first Any strategy that doesn't put the African race first is a strategy that will fail. Make sure you download the new Race First audiobook. It's available. I just downloaded it from Apple Books, audiobook. Get the Race First audiobook on the Honorable Marcus Garvey by Tony Martin. Rest in paradise to Tony Martin, former Minister of History for the Garvey movement. He joined the ancestors a few years ago. My first public lecture, I was on stage with Tony Martin and Dr. Ranoko Rashidi. My first public lecture at an HBCU was North Carolina Central University, 2004 Garvey Regional Conference featuring Tony Martin, Dr. Ranoko Rashidi, who's also with the ancestors, and yours truly, the Prince of Pan-Africanism. But it's called Race First, the ideological and organizational struggles of Marcus Garvey and the UNIA. Download the audiobook. All of y'all who don't know your Garvey history, all of y'all who don't know your Garvey history, whether you on Google Play or whether you on the iPhone, go into the books, download audio books, whether you on Audible, and get Race First. Race First by Tony Martin, T-O-N-Y Martin. Race First by Tony Martin. I don't push Garvey because Garvey was a prophet in the religious sense, because Garvey never claimed to be divine. He let his work do his talking for him, and he out-organized and out-succeeded everybody else before and after him who claimed to be divine. But our strategy must be universal. Let's go to letter H. White supremacy is harsh. It doesn't care how you feel. And white supremacy is ahistorical. It's not based on truth. If you're trying to defeat white supremacy, let me take that back. You do defeat white supremacy with truth, but you will not be able to get a white person to admit white supremacy is a lie by using the truth, because white supremacy doesn't operate on truth. It operates on power. I want to repeat that twice. This is why I don't debate white folks. Not saying I never would, but I don't like to debate people at all, because I think most individuals are intelligent enough where if two individuals are reasoning with one another on a difference of opinion, anybody with normal intelligence or greater, and of course I give the intelligence test as a psychologist, anyone with normal intelligence or greater, they will be able to come to their own conclusion about who is right and who is wrong. I don't think there's a need for an argument. The reason we debate so much in the African community is we want to prove other people wrong, and we want to imbibe ourselves with a false sense of superiority. The reason we debate so much in Black America is we have a need to dominate other Africans. We have a need to prove other Black people wrong, and we have a need to imbibe ourselves with an artificial sense of superiority. In other words, because the white man has destroyed the Black man and woman's self-esteem. Because the white man has destroyed the Black man and woman's self-esteem. Because the white man has destroyed the Black man and woman's self-esteem, we are still trying to resurrect and rescue our self-esteem from centuries of assault by white psychological propaganda. And you know what's sad about it? You want to know what's really sad about it? We send our children to public charter schools, independent schools run by white folks. We send our children to public charter, independent schools run by white folks so they can get their self-esteem assaulted also. Isn't that interesting? We send our children to white people in order to get their self-esteem assaulted as well. If we had our self-esteem assaulted by white supremacy, if African people have already had our own self-esteem assaulted by Europeans for 400 years, why would you send your children into schools ran by white people during the most sensitive and formative years of their existence? Why would you send your children into schools run by white people so they could also get their self-esteem assaulted? White supremacy doesn't deal in history. This is why the Bible says civilization is only 6,000 years old. This is why, if you are of one of the 3 Abrahamic religions, no disrespect to none of them, because you can use anything as an instrument of liberation. But one of the reasons why the 3 Abrahamic religions say civilization is only 6,000 years old is because the white man has no history before 6,000 years old. Not a history he would be proud of. What did the white man accomplish prior to 6,000 years ago? What did the white man accomplish prior to 6,000 years ago? Nothing. So if you're Muslim, Christian, or Hebrew, you're taught there's no civilization before 6,000 years. Because the white man has no culture beyond 6,000 years. The only people who have a culture before 6,000 years are Africans and Africoids. Africans and Africoids. An African is someone who is biologically and psychologically African. An Africoid is someone who is biologically African, but they're not psychologically African, aka the Coons and the Negropeans. Candace Owens is Africoid. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is Africoid. Barack and Michelle Obama, they are Africoid. Kamala Harris is Africoid. You are of African, but you are not African. To be African, you must be biologically and psychologically in support of, in defense of, in identification with African people. White supremacy is ahistorical. They do not deal in the truth. You will never get a white person that you will debate who will argue white supremacy, who wants to go back in history before 6,000 years. No white person will ever entertain a conversation of white supremacy that's rooted in ancient history because he has no ancient history. Let's move on to letter I. Letter I, white supremacy is invisible. Letter I, white supremacy is invisible. You don't see it, but you feel it. You don't always see the racism, but you feel the racism. You've been on your job for 20 years and you still ain't got a promotion. You don't see the racism, but you can feel the racism. You walk into a meeting about your children. You walk into a meeting about your children, you see the racism, you don't feel the racism. Or you feel the racism, you don't see it. You know that there's racism, but you don't. I don't know why they think I'm coming out. I'm not coming out. I'm not coming out. But anyhow, I think we have a Neanderthal who wants my parking spot. You can feel that white folks are discriminating against you, but you can't prove it. White supremacy is invisible. This is why white people do not admit white supremacy. This is why white people don't have to admit it, because they conceal it, and because they believe in deception. How do you prove it? When you go to court and sue over racism, what do they ask you? When you go to court and sue over racism, what do they ask you? When you go to court and sue over racism, you know what they ask you? Can you prove that when he beat you up, he did it with racist intent. Can you prove when the police murdered Breonna Taylor that he did it with racist intent? Can you prove when the police shot Michael Brown, he did it with racist intent? Can you prove when your boss fired you, they did it with racist intent? Can you prove when a teacher suspended your child, they did it with racist intent? This is how racism remains invisible, because white people try to get black people to prove psychological intent. Nobody can prove psychological intent, not even a psychologist. Nobody can prove psychological intent, not even a psychologist. Nobody can prove Who got my baby picture as their icon on Instagram? Time out. Who got my baby picture as their icon? N202371. What you doing with my baby picture as your icon? Is that an Ifa Tunde supporter? Who is N202371? Who is N202371? Is that a supporter? You got my baby picture. That's Jermaine Shoemake right there. You got Jermaine Shoemake. You got 5-year-old Jermaine Shoemake as your Instagram photo. N202371. Show yourself. Show yourself. N202371. You got Jermaine Shoemake, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, as your Instagram icon photo. Are you a supporter? Are you a supporter? I'm flattered if you're a supporter. I'm flattered if you're a supporter. I'm flattered if you're a supporter and you have my baby picture, Jermaine Shoemake, 5-year-old North Philadelphia Jermaine Shoemake, as your IG icon. But if you a hater, you must remove Baby Papa. Please remove Baby Papa's photo as your IG icon. Please remove Baby Papa's photo as your IG icon. Unless you are a supporter, you cannot have Baby Papa. You cannot have Baby Papa as your IG icon unless you are a supporter. I did not see the Kanye West rant. We talking the ABCs of white supremacy. I will look at Kanye's rant. You love me, N202371. Are you biological female? And are you African? If you're a biologically African female, you can keep Baby Papa Jermaine Shoemake, 5-year-old North Philly, as your IG. That's not my baby mama. She would burn my baby picture. She wanted to get married she wanted to get married, and I didn't marry her, so she would burn my picture. Both of my baby mamas wanted to get married. They didn't get married, so hey. I wish them well, though. Those are my daughter's mothers. No hate. Live and let live. Yes, sir. Thank you. You better be a woman. Text my phone, 202371. I need to know you are biologically African female. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Why didn't I get married? Because it wasn't time. And they were not the right ones for what I needed to do. They were not bad women. They're good women. But for what I needed to do, they wasn't cut from that cloth. I got to have a certain kind of woman to walk the walk that I'm walking. But you're talking a long time ago, so you're talking a long time ago. Let's keep on going. White supremacy is invisible. Letter J, white supremacy is unjust. They don't believe in equality. Black people, if you want to stay in America, you're going to have to fight every single day of your life. Because white supremacy is unjust. They do not believe in equality. Letter J of the ABCs of white supremacy. Letter J of the ABCs of white supremacy. Letter J of the ABCs of white supremacy. White supremacy is unjust. There's no fairness here. If we're going to stay here, we got to fight. And the reason we're losing is because we're not fighting. America is not just. If you're leaving it up to the courts, you're going to get nowhere. If you're leaving it up to the politicians, you're going to get nowhere. If you're leaving it up to the president, you're going to get nowhere. If you're going to leave it up to the integrity or moral fiber of white America, white supremacy is unjust. It's not fair. There's nothing fair about white supremacy. Nothing at all is fair about white supremacy. So if we're going to stay here in America under white rule, we must organize and fight. We must organize and we must fight. Letter K of the ABCs is Ku Klux Klan. And in Kanye's case, it'll be Ku Klux Klan, but KKK is Ku Klux Klan. And the reason I gave KKK the Ku Klux Klan is I'm trying to understand how an organization that has terrorized African people for nearly 2 centuries, an organization that has lynched, hung, burned, and murdered African people for nearly 2 centuries, why are they not outlawed as a terrorist organization in the United States of America? I want the Congressional Black Caucus to help me understand why they have never pushed for the Ku Klux Klan to be outlawed by the U.S. Congress as a terrorist organization. This organization has taken responsibility for thousands of African lives murdered, lynched, castrated, burned. And why are they still allowed to legally operate in this country? We already know why. Because the Ku Klux Klan is a silent branch of the U.S. government. Let us be honest. The Ku Klux Klan is a silent branch of the American government. Let me be honest. The Ku Klux Klan is a silent branch of the United States government. Let's go to letter L for white supremacy. Letter L for white supremacy is legacy and long-sightedness. White people are very long-sighted. They plan for the next 100 years. Black people plan for the next 20 years. White supremacy, they plan for the next 100 years, the next 500 years. They're planning now. John D. Rockefeller planned for 5 centuries. The Council on Foreign Relations, they planning for the next 500 years. The Bilderbergs are planning for the next 500 years. The Order of Rome is planning for the next 500 years. The White Masons and Elks, they're planning for the next 500 years. The white supremacy is long-sighted. They are very futuristic and long-sighted. They see the bigger picture. They see the bigger picture. Long-term planning and legacy. White supremacists, they believe in legacy and long-term planning. When are black people going to start planning for the long term? Okay, somebody else. Jay Brian, I don't want no man with my photo. I don't know about a male with my photo as they IG. I don't know about that. Sisters, I don't want no man, though. I don't want no man with my photo as your IG icon. I'm just, that feels kind of moist. That feels kind of moist. That feels kind of estrogenic. Sisters could have my photo as the IG icon, but not no men. I don't think a man should have. That's kind of moist and estrogenic. We don't want that. That's kind of moist, brothers. Not the IG icon. You can rock a Dr.P.O.P.A tee, Dr.P.O.P.A hoodie, Dr.P.O.P.A hat, but the IG icon, let's leave that for the queendom. Let's leave that for the Ifa Tunde queendom. Very zesty. So we got the Zest Fest. I don't know why the Zest Fest. Okay. Team Zesty has joined is getting zesty in the chat. Can I ask all my zesty brothers to exit left, please? Can I ask all my zesty brothers to exit left, please? May I ask all of my zesty brothers to exit left, please? Can we have the zesty brothers exit left? Let's go to letter M. White supremacy is manipulative. Letter M, as in Marcus Garvey. White supremacy, they manipulate you. They've been the Democratic Party been manipulating black folks for almost 100 years. The Democratic Party been manipulating black folks for 100 years. The Zest Fest has manipulated black folks. Special education program has manipulated black parents into thinking special ed helps. Black people been getting manipulated into the U.S. military. Black people get manipulated by the banks. You get manipulated by the books. You get manipulated by the government. We are always being manipulated by white supremacy. And you know why we're always easily manipulated? Because we trust them. We are the only oppressed people, probably in history, who actually believes in the integrity of their oppressor. It's amazing. The American African is amazing because we are the only oppressed people that I know of ever who actually has faith in the integrity of the people who are oppressing them. It's amazing. Neanderthal alert, Neanderthal alert, Neanderthal alert. Oh man, he got his two dogs out here. They got a big white dog and a big black dog. They got a big white dog and a big black dog. He got a damn snow bunny arrangement. He got the dogs bunny hopping. He got a white dog and a black dog. The black dog is the male and the white dog is the female. So the black dog is bunny hopping the white dog. You can't make this shit up. The black dog is bunny hopping the white dog. You can't make this shit up. The black dog is bunny hopping the white dog, brothers and sisters. You can't make this shit up. But let me continue with letter M, manipulative. White folks are always manipulating. White women, the snow bunny crisis. The snow bunny crisis is nothing but manipulation. The snow bunny crisis is nothing but manipulate. This white woman is going to manipulate this multi-million-dollar athlete into thinking she cares about him. These white women are manipulating these multi-million-dollar athletes into believing they actually care about them just to get the paycheck. Manipulation. Yeah, dogs have a race. Let me answer the question. I'm not going to block him. I think that's a Caucasian. And I don't want to take away from my conversation with the African people to deal with Caucasians, because this is not a Caucasian live. I told you Caucasians, I will give you your own live. I'm going to have a snow bunny chat where any white woman who has a question for me about the snow bunny crisis or any of Dr. Ifa Tunde's politics, you'll be able to call in and we can have that conversation. But today is not the day. There will be a snow bunny chat. I'm going to put the flyer up. Any white woman who want to ask about black power, black consciousness, Pan-Africanism, why I don't support interracial marriage, you will get your day, but today is not the day. This is a serious conversation on the ABCs of white supremacy with African people, so I need all Neanderthals to exit left. All members of the Caucasian clan, I would appreciate if you would exit off the chat. Text me for the flyer for Jacksonville, Florida. We will be at the Brendan Depot. Let me back up. First date is Montclair, New Jersey. Let me give y'all the dates before I continue. The first date will be Montclair, New Jersey. Thursday, December the 21st, Dr. Umar will be in Montclair, New Jersey for the pre-Kwanzaa celebration. Doors at 5, 6 until 9. I believe it's free. Pre-Kwanzaa program, Montclair, New Jersey, Thursday, December the 21st, 6 until 9, 25 Maple Avenue in Montclair. 25 Maple Avenue in Montclair. 25 Maple Avenue in Montclair, New Jersey, Thursday, December the 21st. If you want more information, you can email DrUmarJohnson, MontclairNJ@gmail.com. DrUmarJohnson, MontclairNJ@gmail.com. Or you can call 914-539-7260. 914-539-7260. Or you can text me for the flyer, and all the information is on the flyer. 215-989-9858. Do I think black people can run the world? We can't talk about black people running the world until we can run ourselves. We can talk about black people running the world until we run our community. We can't talk about black people running the world until we raise our children appropriately. How are we going to jump to the world and we don't even have any black Wall Streets? How are we going to jump into the world? We don't even have no institutions. How are we going to jump into the world? We don't even have no independent black community. So before we start trying to take back the 7 continents, let's take back the major cities. Let's take back Philadelphia. Let's take back Oakland. Let's take back LA and Houston. Let's take back Dallas and Atlanta. Let's take back Raleigh and Durham. Let's take back Fort Lauderdale. Let's take back Jacksonville, Florida. Let's take back Detroit, Milwaukee, Chicago. Let's take back Des Moines and Omaha. Before we start talking about taking over the world, how about we take back a community first? Because if you can't take over community, you damn sure not taking over no continent, no country, no county. If you can't take over a community, why are we talking about taking over a county, a country, or a continent? Take back a community first. Take back a community first. You addicted to white men? Why are you on here, sister? Sounds like you need snow puppy therapy with King Kong. The letter N is narcissism. Supremacy is narcissistic. They think they're better than everybody. They think they're God's gift to the world. White supremacy is very narcissistic. I never keynoted HBCU. I've keynoted hundreds of high school, middle school. I want to taste you. I hope that's not a Zest Fest. Wait a minute. That's a man. I'm a block. Prada Stack Dollar. Is that a man? Oh, no. Add that girl. That must be a female. That must be a female. Okay. Okay. About to say. I thought that was a zesty attack. I want to say something to black fathers. Shout out to all the fathers who are doing a good job with their children, first of all. Shout out to all the fathers who are doing a good job with their children. But I want to say this to black men. We must spend more time with our daughters, because when you don't spend time with your daughters, they become thirsty. They end up messing with these boys and they get introduced into sexual trafficking. Black fathers, you must be in your daughter's life so she don't feel thirsty and end up dating one of these sexual traffickers without her knowledge. Your daughter will end up a sexual trafficking victim, black man. We must spend time with the babies. I am fasting. We don't fast from water in the Pan-African fast. We do water. We do water and we do juice in the Pan-African fast.